News 12 presents The East End with Doug Geed.
Our icy cold January froze a lot of Long Island waterways, including beautiful Peconic Bay. Hello again, I'm Doug Geed. Welcome to another edition of the East End here on News 12 Long Island. Well, in a few short months, folks will be back out enjoying our waterways. And on this weekend's program, we're going to tell you about a man who hand makes wooden canoes.
Very few people have ever seen a wooden canoe in their life.
Now we'll show you one, and the man who makes them. That's all ahead on the East End, here on News 12 Long Island.
The canoes that I make are more sort of an art expression than they are traditional boats.
Ahead on the East End, the canoe craftsman who spends a full year making these beautiful boats. Stay with us on the East End, here on News 12 Long Island.
Any time of year, this is a popular place for both residents and visitors, Love Lane in Mattituck. Welcome back to the East End here on News 12 Long Island. Love Lane has a cheese shop, specialty markets, cafes, but on the other side of the stores, you'll find a small workshop where beautiful wooden canoes are built.
I was born and raised in South Dakota on a cattle ranch, and I went to college at Iowa State, but then I came east to go to graduate school at Cornell in upstate New York, and I got a PhD in horticulture. And then I came to Long Island to work at Bedell Cellars for Michael Lynn, the owner, and I've been there ever since. Boat building started kind of on a lark. I taught myself how to do it from scratch, reading books and watching videos. But the inspiration really came when my father passed away about 3 years ago, and I had a bunch of his tools from the ranch in South Dakota. And I was sitting in my house. I lived right on Peconic Bay in Mattituck, and I thought, well, maybe I should make a boat. And it started sort of snowballing from there.
So you didn't come up with the idea to build these to sell them, right?
Right. Yeah, initially it was just a passion project, you know. I want to make a canoe, and I was sort of surprised at the response that it had. Very few people have ever seen a wooden canoe in their life. And if they have seen one, maybe it was just in a photo. After I finished the first one, it became more of a commercial thought because, well, actually, and I had a conversation with the owner of Bedell about it, and I brought him over to see the canoe, and he said, well, why don't you just make one of these a year and sell it for $100,000? So I give him credit for that idea.
So what goes into a $100,000 canoe? When people hear that, they may gasp, but there's a tremendous amount of work and craftsmanship and the materials. Yeah,
it takes me about a year to do it. There's a lot of materials. I do custom bronze work, bronze cutwaters. The seats are hand woven out of leather and hemp. I have a crystal bezel and bronze yachting compass that I put into the front. And I use some different exotic woods as well. I have a canoe that I made entirely from zebra wood, for example, and doing different patterns. I view the canoes that I make are more sort of an art expression than they are traditional, quote-unquote, traditional boats.
So all that wood there becomes canoes? Is that it?
Absolutely. So these are all the strips that I use to make the canoes. And I made all these strips at once because you don't really want to ever have to make strips again because it's a real pain. It's very tedious, and it makes a huge mess.
So how thin are they? They look very thin.
Yeah, they're very thin. These are about a 1/4 inch thick. So I mill these. This one right here, this is Alaskan yellow cedar.
Alaskan yellow cedar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a common wood used in boat building. It's pretty flexible, easy to work with, soft, but really strong. And these are 1/4 inch thick, and then you see they have a bead and cove router edge.
Okay.
So one side is a cove, and this side is rounded. I put a strip of wood glue into that cove, and then these just fit right into each other like that, pretty snug. Okay. And they turn, they rotate, they create basically a joint, almost like a ball joint. These are already done. I put the glue in, and I'll grab a strip and do this, but then I clamp them and staple them to these forms. These are the mold forms, so these basically give you the design of the boat, the shape of the hull, and the buoyancy and the physics of the boat is all contained really in these forms. Once you're finished and you've closed it all up, then these basically you just hammer them out, and then it's your hollow hull.
So those strips were so lightweight and flexible, yet that becomes a very strong, sturdy canoe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I fiberglass it when it's all done, so that's how it's waterproofed. Well, I was in the Robb Report Christmas gifts one of their 31 best Christmas gift ideas for the year, including Eric Clapton's guitar and some $200 million super yachts, but they included my canoe. I was in the Financial Times of London magazine, their Sunday magazine. They did an article. And then a few days later, I got a phone call, and it was a number from Switzerland on my cell phone. And it was a gentleman over there who's a boat collector and an art collector. And he was very interested in my canoes. So I also have the stand-up paddleboard that I've been working on. It's going to the same collector in Switzerland. So in May or June of this year, I'll be flying with the canoe and the stand-up paddleboard over to Switzerland. And he has a lake house on Lake Lucerne, so I'll be launching them there for him and his family. It is kind of a lost art. I don't know that many people, probably less than 5, I would say, in the US and Canada that are actively making wooden canoes. Things that are made well take time and cost money. And I think we've lost that idea in this country today, because everyone just wants everything cheap, fast, and it's almost disposable. So this is in a way slow, like the slow food movement maybe, but this is slow boats. But the North Fork and the Hamptons is the perfect spot for canoeing and paddling and kayaking. There's all these little bays and inlets and creeks off of Peconic Bay that are just perfect, and shallow water. You can paddle around and just kind of sit there and listen to life happen all around you.
To learn more about Trent Preszler and his canoes, you can go to his website, PreszlerWoodshop.com. You can also go to our website for links to lots of fun places to visit in the area. Go to news12.com/East End.